I'm going to ask you a question. What is it that keeps you awake at 3 o'clock in the morning? I can tell you what it is for me. It's something I call the what ifs. What if work slows down? What if prices keep going up? What if retirement doesn't turn out the way I thought it would? What if one day I wake up and realize I'd waited too long? What if, and more what if. Now, I don't think I'm the only one carrying around a bunch of these what ifs. I think there is a lot of over 50-year-old folks doing exactly the same thing. We just don't talk about it much in mixed company. By the way, my name's Don, and I'm just another average over 50 worker bee located in Texas. And I got to tell you that I've been laying awake a lot at night lately talking to my what ifs. You know how it goes, right? The house is all quiet. Everybody's asleep, and you're sitting there staring at the ceiling, and those what ifs just keep coming and coming and coming and coming. What if the work isn't there next year? What if I can't protect my savings? What if I'm too old and still can't retire? And between you and me, the one that scares me the most, what if one day I realized that there was still time, but that I'd waited too long? Anyway, one night I was laying there doing the what if dance, and it dawned on me. I can't just keep talking to these what ifs. It's time I got to do something about it. Now, this wasn't the first time I'd found myself in this spot. About 15 years ago, things got slow at work and I was getting pretty fed up with it. And that's when I started looking at what I'll just call non-traditional and online marketing businesses. And if I'm being totally honest with you, I had visions of getting rich and living on a beach. And so began my half-decade journey, chasing shiny objects, both off and online. It was the usual cast of characters: MLM, affiliate marketing, bloggers, all the hucksters were there. And in fact, I tried more of them than I'd like to even tell you about in a public forum like this. But needless to say, the fact that you're watching me now tells you everything you need to know about how it worked out in the long run. 5 years later, after graduating with honors and a degree in frustration from what I call the School of Non-Traditional Business, I came to one conclusion: that if it was easy to make money online, everybody'd be doing it, and obviously everybody wouldn't. So I tossed in the towel, headed to the showers, and another decade flew by. So, no more chasing shiny objects, no more chasing the big online score. No, sir, all that was put to bed. Now, work hard, pay your bills, and try to do the best you can going forward. Now, 15 years has passed, and today's what ifs are asking a whole different set of questions. Remember, 15 years ago, they wanted to know if I was going to get rich and live on a beach. Now they're asking, what if I can't retire at all? What if? So that's what's keeping me awake currently. Now, maybe it's just something about getting older, but you stop thinking about getting ahead or even keeping up, and you start thinking about not falling behind. I was really starting to think that all the years of working and doing the right thing just wasn't going to be enough. And that one loud what if just kept asking over and over and over, what if I'm not going to be okay? Now, I'd told myself I'd put all that online BS behind me, but the louder those what ifs got every night, the harder they were to ignore. And they showed up night after night after night, just like clockwork. Before long, I found myself back in a familiar spot in front of a computer screen, hours on end. Not because it was fun, and not because I liked doing it, but I knew I needed to find an answer, and I knew it needed to be sooner rather than later. So there I'd sit night after night in front of that computer, sifting through a sea of get rich quick, make easy money videos like I'd done before. I'd sit there and shake my head and say, who'd fall for this stuff? And then think, oh, you did, dummy. Most of what I watched was the same old over-promising hype I'd seen 15 years earlier. The faces had changed, but the sales pitches hadn't. Then one night I stumbled across something that really got my attention. Not because it promised me the world, but because it didn't promise me the world. No mention of making $1 million from a beach, just an ordinary person talking about their life and how they'd started looking and why 2 years earlier. No talk of getting rich, just looking for a little financial breathing room in their life, where every little surprise expense doesn't turn out to be a gut punch you're not expecting. I thought to myself, hallelujah, somebody finally speaking my language. I kept waiting for them to go to the close, but they never did. Instead, they kept talking about a process and something mysterious called the blueprint. They talked about learning new skills and following a roadmap so you didn't have to invent things from scratch yourself. And that's what got my attention because for the first time in a long time, I started thinking that maybe, just maybe, I hadn't waited too long to get started. Now, don't get me wrong, I hadn't drank the Kool-Aid. I was still looking to make sure that there wasn't a catch in this deal. So I started digging in online, reading reviews, going to look for things where people would say at forums and stuff, hey, don't do this, it's a waste of time, this is a scam, that kind of stuff. You know what I'm talking about. I wanted to know before I got any more invested. Truth is, I was conflicted. Part of me was hoping to find the fraud and put it to bed, but the other part of me was praying it was true. I knew if I could just prove it was another scam, I could write it off and move on. But what I was finding instead was giving me something else. Hope. And that hope brought a new what if. What if I hadn't waited too long and there was still a chance? So I opened the blueprint. I dove in head first. And honestly, I was amazed. No hype, no sales pitch, just solid information and answers to questions I'd been carrying. I spent the whole weekend going through it, reading, watching, and taking notes. And Monday morning, I made my decision and I pulled the trigger. Now, if you're anything like I was, skeptical and tired of all the hype, I've put that very same blueprint in the description below. I mean, don't take my word for it. Go look yourself. And whatever your decision is, man, keep up the good fight and God bless.